The transition of these traditions into the Christmas context is a clear example of how symbols can cross boundaries and eras. Christians, seeking a connection point with local cultures, reinterpreted pagan practices, giving them new purpose. The Christmas tree, with its glow and ornaments, became a Christian symbol of life and celebration without completely erasing its origins. Knowing that this tradition is so ancient yet so current makes us reflect on how values and beliefs can coexist in harmony. These cultural practices, however, were not merely rituals. They carried the stories, beliefs, and worldviews of their people. Could the symbolism behind these trees hide other layers still waiting to be explored? Is there something deeper in the connection between these ancient rituals and what we celebrate today? Connection with Nimrod and the Tower of Babel, the symbolic link between the Christmas tree and Nimrod, a biblical figure associated with the Tower of Babel, is analyzed in detail. Delving into biblical history, Nimrod emerges as a central figure known for his powerful leadership and his connection to the construction of the Tower of Babel. However, the symbolic relationship between him and the Christmas tree is a lesser-known but equally fascinating layer. According to ancient traditions, Nimrod was associated with the veneration of evergreen trees as a symbol of his continuous influence and legacy. It's intriguing to think that the practice of decorating trees might in some way echo this connection to one of the Bible's most enigmatic episodes. This association also ties to the figure of Semiramis, Nimrod's wife, and the belief that she promoted the use of natural symbols as representations of life and power. In fact, some traditions suggest that the pine tree was integrated as a way to celebrate Nimrod's regeneration through his son, Tammuz. While these elements are considered mythical by many, they shed light on how cultural and religious symbols can merge over the centuries. It's almost as if ancient stories left their footprints in modern practices, often unnoticed. Behind the glamour of lights and ornaments lies the idea that the tree can be seen as a reflection of something greater, a bridge between the spiritual and the earthly. The Tower of Babel, built with the purpose of reaching the heavens, shares the same symbolism of connection between worlds. Isn't it curious how, even centuries later, we continue to use elements like the pine tree to express our quest for higher meanings? It may seem like a simple decoration, but it carries echoes of stories that shaped humanity's course. Does the symbolism behind the tree still have something to teach us about our own motivations? Or better yet, does this connection to Nimrod help us understand the depth of such a common tradition, the adaptation of traditions from various civilizations, showing how symbolic elements evolved and integrated into Christianity? The history of the Christmas tree is a true cultural mosaic, formed by fragments of various civilizations over the centuries. Babylonians, Egyptians, Romans, and Germanic peoples contributed symbols that were shaped and reinterpreted until they became part of Christian practices. It's fascinating to see how these elements, initially tied to pagan and seasonal rituals, ended up gaining new meaning in the celebration of Christ's birth. The tradition of the tree is a remarkable example of how humanity redefines customs, preserving their essence while adapting their form. This evolution was not a simple process. It required cultures in contact to find common ground. In the case of Christianity, adopting pagan practices like the use of evergreen trees was a way to connect people to a new faith without discarding their cultural roots. Think of the lights and stars that now adorn trees. While some see in them the representation of the Star of Bethlehem, others might recognize the continuity of ancient rituals of sun worship. This blending creates a rich symbolism that transcends eras and contexts. On the other hand, it's curious to observe how these cultural adaptations have shaped the modern perception of the Christmas tradition. Today, decorating a tree doesn't require understanding its historical roots, but the act still carries echoes of the past. It's as if, by hanging an ornament, we're reliving centuries of history without even realizing it. This connection between the old and the new reminds us that traditions are never static. They evolve like a living language that reflects the changes in society. The figures of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz deeply influenced mythologies and traditions, including winter festival cults. The ancient trinity of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz is one of the most intriguing pillars of the mythologies that permeate cultural traditions. Nimrod, as a leader and imposing figure, is often associated with strength and power, while Semiramis represents fertility and creation. Tammuz, in turn, symbolizes renewal and the cycle of life. This triad influenced not only religious practices, but also elements like winter festivals, where the celebration of light and life amidst darkness takes center stage. It's remarkable how these figures, distant in time, still leave traces in modern culture. The Winter Festival, celebrated by various cultures, incorporated rituals that exalted the idea of rebirth. Semiramis, for example, was often associated with natural symbols like trees, linking her to the concept of eternal life. Tammuz, who in Babylonian tradition died and was reborn, inspired festivals celebrating the overcoming of darkness through the return of light. These elements eventually became part of the Christmas context, creating a bridge between pagan practices and Christian symbolism. Isn't it fascinating how cultural adaptations create universal narratives? Today, as we celebrate Christmas, it's easy to overlook these influences, but they remain alive in the details. From the use of evergreen trees to the spirit of renewal that pervades the season, the legacy of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz is present, even subtly. These ancient symbols remind us that traditions are not just customs, but also stories told through gestures, rituals, and celebrations. The question remains, how many of these stories remain hidden beneath the layers of time? The persistence of symbols. How elements of ancient traditions continue to influence modern celebrations, and what this reveals about human nature. Symbols have an impressive ability to cross generations, maintaining their impact even as the contexts in which they emerged change completely. The Christmas tree is a classic example of this symbolic persistence, carrying a meaning that goes beyond mere decoration. At its core, it represents the continuity of life and hope in times of adversity, a concept as relevant today as it was for ancient Babylonian or Egyptian peoples. It seems that regardless of the era, humans have always sought ways to express their aspirations and beliefs through enduring symbols. Looking around, we can see other elements of ancient traditions that remain alive, albeit adapted. The use of lights in Christmas decorations, for instance, echoes the sun worship rituals performed in winter festivals. These details show us that while forms change, basic meanings remain constant. Deep down, what we seek is the same: connection, celebration, and the reaffirmation that life prevails. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why the Christmas tree continues to hold such a special place in homes and hearts. But what does this say about us as a species? Perhaps the answer lies in our innate need to connect to the past, even unconsciously. Every time we hang an ornament or light a bulb, we participate in a long chain of traditions, carrying in small gestures a legacy of centuries. This continuity reminds us that while the world changes rapidly, we still find solace and meaning in ancient symbols. What else might be hidden in these seemingly simple rituals, waiting to be rediscovered? How pagan traditions were adapted and redefined to create symbols aligned with the Christian message. As Christianity began to expand, one of its greatest achievements was the ability to adapt existing cultural elements, giving them new meanings. Thus, ancient practices like the veneration of trees, were redefined to convey the message of Christ. The Christmas tree, with its lights and ornaments, became a symbol of the celebration of life and the hope brought by Jesus' birth. This strategy, besides being clever, was a powerful way to unite people from different traditions under one faith. This redefinition was not just a form of cultural acceptance, but also an invitation to deeper understanding. Christians took what was once used in pagan celebrations and transformed it into symbols of faith. The star atop the tree, for example, came to represent the Star of Bethlehem, while the lights symbolized the light of Christ amidst the world's darkness. It's almost as if every detail had been carefully designed to teach biblical truths in an accessible and visual way. Who hasn't stopped to admire a decorated tree and felt a touch of something greater? However, this integration hasn't been free from criticism or controversy. Even today, debates exist about how much these traditions truly reflect the Christian message, or whether they are concessions to ancient cultures. But regardless of origin, the Christmas tree continues to be a bridge between past and present, uniting meanings and stories that resonate across the globe. If symbols so ancient can be redefined, what else can be transformed through the lens of faith? The connection between the Christmas tree tradition and deeper spiritual concepts like renewal and transcendence. The Christmas tree, with its striking presence and enchanting beauty, carries spiritual meanings that are not always immediately recognized. It is not just a decoration, but also a silent reminder of the renewal of life and the hope that blooms even in difficult times. Just as evergreens withstand the harshest winters, they symbolize strength and spiritual resilience. It is a powerful message, especially in a world where human fragility is so evident. The shape of the tree, pointing toward the sky, also holds deep symbolism. It reminds us to look upward, seeking a connection with something greater than ourselves. It's no coincidence that many families decorate their trees with a star or angel on top, representing both divine guidance and spiritual transcendence. This simple gesture reflects a universal desire to find purpose and direction, something that resonates deeply in the traditions of various cultures. Additionally, the act of adorning the tree with lights and ornaments can be interpreted as a celebration of the human journey itself. Each light represents a moment of joy, each ornament a reminder of what is valuable. This practice teaches us that even in the darkest seasons there is beauty and purpose. And isn't that the essence of spiritual transcendence? But what happens when we start to explore even deeper layers of these symbolic meanings? Contemporary cultural influence, how the Christmas tree has become a universal symbol going beyond its spiritual and religious origins. The Christmas tree, with all its brilliance and charm, has transcended its religious origins to become a universal icon of celebration. Today, it is seen in homes, squares, and even in places that do not have Christian traditions. This phenomenon reflects how modern culture has absorbed and adapted ancient symbols, making them part of a global language of festivity. What was once a deeply spiritual ritual is now also a symbol of unity, generosity, and shared joy, regardless of belief. The popularization of the Christmas tree was driven by its presence in cultural media, from films to advertisements. Who hasn't seen those classic scenes of families gathered around the tree, exchanging gifts beneath its lights? This image, so common today, is an example of how symbols can be shaped to fit the needs and aspirations of each era. Still, it's interesting to note how elements like the star or the lights continue to carry remnants of their original meanings, even though many may not realize it. But this universalization also raises important questions. By making it a symbol for everyone, have we lost part of its deeper meaning? Perhaps, but we've also gained something. The Christmas tree today is an opportunity to bring people together, create memories, and reflect on values that go beyond cultural differences. It reminds us that, no matter how different we are, we still share the capacity to find beauty in something as simple as a decorated pine tree. But has this cultural evolution reached its limit, or are there more transformations to come? The future of the tradition. Reflections on how the Christmas tree will continue to evolve, adapting to cultural and spiritual changes. The Christmas tree, despite its ancient roots, has shown an incredible ability to adapt over time. Its evolution reflects the cultural, social, and even technological transformations of the societies that have embraced it. In the future, it is likely that the tree will continue to incorporate new symbols and meanings, becoming even more connected to the modern world. Can you imagine trees decorated with holograms or themes addressing environmental causes? These possibilities show how tradition can remain alive while reflecting the values of each generation. With the growing interest in sustainability, many families are rethinking their Christmas tree choices. Recyclable artificial pines or handmade ornaments are gaining popularity, showing that even such an ancient tradition can be shaped by contemporary issues. This leads us to reflect. Tradition is not in conflict with progress. In fact, it can be a platform for expressing new ideas. This movement also reinforces the message that the symbolic values of the tree, hope, renewal, and unity, can be reinterpreted without losing their essence. The future of the Christmas tree may also bring a return to its spiritual roots, as more people seek a deeper meaning for their celebrations. After all, traditions are not just about the past, but how they shape the present and inspire the future. Perhaps the next generation will find new ways to celebrate that connect both the pagan origins and the Christian meanings, creating a truly universal tradition. But are we ready to reimagine this tradition in ways we have yet to imagine? The Christmas tree, with all its lights and ornaments, is more than just a festive symbol. It is a reflection of the traditions that have shaped the world over centuries. Now that you are aware of the deep and even dark roots of this practice, the question remains: how do you view this tradition moving forward? Could each ornament and every lit bulb become an opportunity for reflection on what we celebrate and why? Perhaps it's time to rediscover meanings and create new connections with what truly matters. Think about it. To what extent are we living out traditions consciously? It's possible to transform even the oldest rituals into moments of learning and faith. You can start with something simple. How about sharing this knowledge with someone you love? Or even rethinking your own celebrations. It's not about abandoning practices, but enriching them with purpose. Now the decision is in your hands. Will you let this knowledge fade away, or will you use it to transform your celebrations and perhaps even the way you see the world? Share your thoughts in the comments and let us know how this story impacted you. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to continue exploring biblical truths and the mysteries that shape our faith. The next chapter of this journey awaits you.